Bambu Lab have made a name for themselves doing something rather annoying. And that's making 3D printing feel easy. And now they've looked at that formula and asked one simple question. What if we made it bigger? Not slightly bigger, not marketing department bigger, but actually bigger. This, friends, is the brand new Bambu Lab A2L. And on paper at least, it looks like Bambu Lab have taken an idea of a consumer-friendly printer and stretched it into something aimed at people who think normal-sized prints are for cowards. Because the moment you move into this kind of build volume, you stop thinking about whether something can fit on the bed and actually start thinking whether the model you've chosen is ambitious enough. Bigger props, taller prints, more prints at once, and finally a machine that might let you spend less time slicing models into bits like some sort of plastic butcher. The big question, of course, is this just a bigger A1, or is it actually something more interesting than that? Well, friends, let's get straight on into this one.
You are watching a master at work.
What's going on, friends? Sam Prentice here, back once again, and today, of course, we're taking a look at the Bambu Lab A2L. Now, Bambu are calling this a creative playground. It's extra large, which is a polished way of saying this thing is designed for people who have already outgrown the usual print area and want a machine that gives them a bit more freedom. Because yes, the headline here is obvious. It's a large format machine with 330 by 320 by 325mm build volume, but the bigger story is what that extra room actually lets you do. Bigger prints, fewer compromises, more batch production, and a machine that's also trying to push beyond straightforward printing with pen drawing and blade cutting modules too. So in this video, we're going to see whether or not the A2L is just a stretched version of something we already know, or whether it's actually one of those more interesting consumer machines that Bambu has made in a while. I will say though, straight off the back, there are a few things that have, perhaps they could have done better, and maybe they will do better in the future with firmware upgrades, but we'll get into that a little bit later on. So the A2L, I guess the easiest way to describe this is it's Bambu taking a simple, approachable, press print and things usually work idea of the A1 series and stretching it into something bigger. But, and this is important, this is not just a bigger printer with longer rails and more plastic around it, because once you make a bed slinger this large, you start to create problems. The bed is bigger, of course, the prints are heavier, the frame has more room to move. The model itself can start changing how the machine vibrates as it gets taller, and that means if you just scale everything up without thinking about it, you don't get a better printer, you get a bigger problem. This month actually marks 10 years of myself being in 3D printing, and we've seen manufacturers with some colossal failures over the years, scaling things up just because they thought they could, and they couldn't. But being Bambu, of course, they've added a few things that are clearly designed to deal with any of those foreseeable problems. There's adaptive vibration compensation, which is meant to adjust for different bed loads and tool head positioning while printing. There's also internal granular dampers built into the frame to help reduce vibration, ringing, and ghosting. And there's a new PMSM closed-loop server extruder, which is designed to monitor extrusion more accurately and detect issues like filament grinding, clogs, and even air printing. Now, all these words sound very brochury, and that's where we should all start getting very suspicious, because it seems that every printer launches with a list of new features that sound like they were creative in a meeting where somebody said, "Oh, can we make this sound a little bit more intelligent?" But the interesting thing with the A2 is that these features are just not random. They are there to solve the exact problems that you'd expect from scaling up to a large format bed slinger. It's a fact that tall prints wobble, heavy prints can change the way that the bed moves, large frames cause ringing. And if you're printing something massive, the last thing that you're going to want is your printer to be failing 19 hours in because your nozzle has turned itself into a plastic meatball. And that casually brings us into another feature of the printer, which is the nozzle clumping detector. And when I was setting this up, I noticed there were a couple of extra cables there that I didn't know what they were for, and well, that's this. So this is actually a physical detector near the purge area that's there to catch any early signs of nozzle blobs before they turn into some sort of disaster that makes you question your life choices that led you into 3D printing. And I like that, not because it sounds flashy, but because it's actually practical. Ultimately, if this machine is aimed at people printing bigger things, longer prints, and maybe more ambitious projects, then failure detection becomes more important. On a smaller printer, a failed print is annoying, but on a printer this size, a failed print can be a full emotional event. I'm sorry, I need a minute. Anyway, as I said before, Bambu aren't just pitching this as a big 3D printer. Oh no, and they're calling it the creative playground. Because if you are a maker, the A2L just got a little bit more interesting, because alongside of the 3D printing, this machine also supports modular add-ons like blade cutting and pen drawing. So in theory, you're not just printing parts, you're cutting stickers, you're plotting designs, you're working with materials like leather and fabric, adding details to projects without needing a totally separate machine. Being honest though, this thing could be genuinely very useful. Or it could be one of those things that we talk about in the launch video and then never ever use it again, which is why I'm going to try it. Because for all the stuff I do, props, RC projects, def racers, event signage, weird YouTube nonsense, the idea of having a printer that can also cut and draw is actually pretty appealing. Now, of course, we did see that on the older H2 range, and that's an option with a laser and a plotter and a cutter. And I was sent some of those things and I never used it, but it will only work in a way if it feels natural. Because the whole Bambu thing has always been find a model, press the button, get the thing. So if the cutting and drawing workflow feels like a science project, it's going to lose its magic. And of course, I'll show the results towards the end of the video. The timestamps, of course, are shown below. And don't forget to like and subscribe. You know you want to. It just takes a second. Creepy. Now, there are some things that the A2L is not. It's not enclosed. It's not a dual nozzle printer. It's not a laser machine. And it's not being positioned here as some extreme engineering material monster. The nozzle goes up to 300 degrees, but the bed tops out at 80 degrees. And Bambu's own material list mainly is focused around PLA, PETG, TPU, PVA, and carbon fiber filled PLA and PETG with the right nozzle setup. So if you were hoping that this was going to be some sort of open frame machine printing ASA, ABS, polycarbonates, and various other spicy materials, is probably not. This is more of a big, accessible, creator-focused machine. Large prints, multicolour, blade cutting, pen plotting, Maker World, Bambu Studio, AMS compatibility, that sort of thing. And this actually might be a smarter move, because not every printer needs to be trying to survive in a chemical plant. Some people just want to print big things reliably without having to spend 3 evenings arguing over first layer adhesion. So that's the basic idea. The A2L is Bambu's large creative machine. It's bigger than the A1, smarter than a scaled up bed slinger, but still designed to feel approachable. But the real question is, has Bambu managed to make a large-scale printer that feels like a Bambu printer, or does making everything bigger also make the problems bigger? Normally, getting parts made means using multiple services, judging different systems, and dealing with unnecessary friction. PCBWay.com simplifies all of that. PCB, CNC machining, 3D printing, and sheet metal fabrication, it's all available in one place, through one single platform. You upload your design once, choose exactly what you need, and manage everything from a single dashboard. It saves time, reduces mistakes, and makes the entire process far more efficient. Check them out today at PCBWay.com. Now, preempting some of those comments, I know the build size isn't massive. It's not huge, but for an A-series Bambu printer, it's bigger than the previous ones. That's what I'm getting at. So just preempting those comments, thank you. Anyway, we're going to put some large prints on this that are large for the printer. And I'm going to show you some more stuff. So let's move on over to that. Let's talk about the AMS. Now, when the A1 first came out, most people thought of that as being the AMS Lite printer. 4 spools, open design, nice and simple. And honestly, it was one of the reasons that the A1 became so popular. But of course, the A1 has changed since then. With the A1 series, the AMS hub, well, the A1 can now be used with the box-style AMS system as well. So AMS, AMS2, AMS2 Pro, and AMS HT. So I didn't just want to sit here and say the A1 only does AMS Lite and the A2L does proper AMS, because that really isn't true anymore. But the real difference here is flexibility. The A1 can use AMS Lite, or it could be moved into a box-style AMS system with a hub. But the A2L is designed to combine both of those worlds. So you can use an AMS Lite with the original AMS and an AMS2 Pro, and you can mix the AMS Lite with a box-style AMS unit. This means that the A2L can go all the way up to 19 color printing, which is just ridiculous. And obviously, I suspect someone is going to use all 19 immediately to print some unnecessary dragon that you've ever seen. But this does matter, because bigger prints take longer. Longer prints use more filament. And the more filament that you're using, the more important feeding, storage, drying and reliability become. The AMS Lite is simple and brilliant, but it's open. Where of course the AMS 2 Pro gives you enclosed storage and drying, which makes more sense if your filament is going to be sitting around during long jobs. So the A2L isn't just a bigger A1, it's a bigger A-series printer with a more flexible filament system. And this is one of the big differences beyond the size. So let's move on and start talking about some of the models that I've printed. And really this is where the A2L starts to justify itself, or it doesn't. Because you can quote me build dimensions all day, but unless you're actually going to fill the thing with interesting models, it's all just numbers and brochures. And in this video, I've got a range of prints that really show where a machine like this starts to make sense. A lot of these are the kind of pieces that suit display, cosplay, larger decorative work, or just prints where you want to make the most of that big build volume rather than just apologising for it. And one thing I do quite like here is that it gives you the excuse to print things that actually feel like finished objects. Not test pieces, not half an idea, actual finished objects. And yes, all of the models that are shown here have been supplied by our friends at STL Flicks, which is handy because it means that there's a good spread of pieces that actually let a machine like this show off what it can do. And not in a shouty buy it now sort of way, just in the sense that you've got access to good looking files and you end up making better use of the printer. And that's the truth of it. Overall, during my testing, the prints came out well. The filament change poop is an obvious part of this style of printer, and I did also see a bit of colour bleed into some of the lighter colours at first. Once I tweaked the profiles of those light filaments, I was able to overcome that pretty easily. Next, I popped into cutting mode. Now, because I have no previous experience with cutting or the pen, I basically had no information on how this thing went together. I did what any sensible professional would do and turned to YouTube, specifically Ross at False Hammer, where I briefly watched him talking about tips and shafts before he started to take his clothes off, which is both genuinely useful in a sentence, but I didn't expect to say it inside of this video. He goes into much more detail than I'm going to here, so make sure you check out that video as well. Links, of course, will be in the description. Pervert. The cutting tool and pen holder are actually part of the same module. You pull out the blade shaft, swap to the pen holder, drop your pen into that, and away you go. To be honest with you, I've never really paid this side of Bambu's ecosystem that much attention before, so both Bambu Suite and this little nib were certainly a learning curve for me. But as usual, Bambu have made the process fairly easy to understand, and after a bit of trial and error, the workflow started to make sense. And I have to say the pen side of this is excellent. On the face of it, pen plotting sounds like a bit of a novelty, but when you start thinking about it, there are lots of genuinely useful applications: custom cards, labels, line art, templates, workshop organisation, packing inserts, even just writing or drawing something far more cleanly than most of us could ever do by hand. The sticking, cutting mat and the thought that's gone into this process is genuinely very impressive. On the cutting side, it's very much the same. It's easy to use, well integrated, and actually opens this up far beyond 3D printing. This isn't just a tiny token cutter either. If you're looking at 300 by 300mm as a cutting area and 300 by 255 on the drawing area, blade and pen recognition, automatic cutting mat detection, and support for both bitmap and vector files. The blade pressure runs from 50 to 600 grams of force and will take material up to 0.5 mm thick. And Bambu lists paper, PVC, leather, and more supported materials. So in real terms, if you're looking at stickers, labels, greeting cards, vinyl decals, shirt graphic stencils, and small craft projects, all inside of the same machine. And that's one thing I really like about this. Not, of course, that this suddenly replaces a dedicated cry cut or turns every 3D printer owner into a wedding stationery business overnight, but certainly from a combo printer perspective, it makes a huge amount of sense. This machine can print the part, draw on the material, and then cut the finishing pieces around it, rather than these feeling like 3 unrelated tricks. So it adds an extra string to the A2L's bow, and I think that's excellent. So as I said earlier on in the video, there were a few things about the A2L that I felt fell a little bit short, and the first one is obvious. It very much looks like a standard A1 but bigger. And now, of course, I understand why. The A1 format works well. It's simple, familiar, and clearly Bambu didn't want to move too far away from something that already performed well. But because of that, it does leave you with a slight feeling that maybe this machine could have existed a year to 18 months ago. Not because it's bad, but because visually and functionally, some of the parts just feel really overfamiliar. The UI is one of those areas. With Bambu's second generation machines, we've seen some really impressive interfaces, and this still feels very much closer to the A1 experience. It works, it does the job, but it does feel a little dated compared to where Bambu have already shown where they can go. The bed temperature, of course, is another one. The A2L is a bigger bed, but it does not get as hot as the A1. Now, I understand the reasons for that. When you make a bed much larger, heating the whole surface to a higher temperature takes more power, especially on an open frame machine. So from a practical point of view, I totally get it. But it does mean that even though this is a newer, bigger machine, it's one of the areas where the old A1 technically has still a higher number. And it's worth knowing, especially if you're thinking about materials beyond the usual PLA and PETG world. The stock nozzle also is familiar. And again, maybe that's not a huge problem, because at the end of the day, if it's not broke, don't fix it. But if you're looking at a newer, larger machine, well, part of you does want to see a few more of those obvious generational upgrades. But then, of course, if you're brand new to 3D printing and this is your first printer, you're never going to know the difference. So maybe this is more of a personal thing and a reflection on me. And then there's the AMS Lite. Now, I really like the AMS Lite for what it is. It's simple, open, easy to use, and it makes multi-material printing feel accessible. But it would have been really nice to see some kind of innovation around exposed filament and moisture, or something that acknowledges that not everyone prints in a perfect dry environment. Of course, that would probably increase the cost, and I do understand why they kept it simple. But it's just something that's worth pointing out. Let's talk about the printer's camera. It sucks. And it doesn't just suck on this machine, it sucks on all of the A-class machines ever made. It's terrible. On paper, it's a low frame rate 1080p camera with time-lapse support. But it's just not good enough. The angle is awkward, you can't see the print properly, and you get more of the side of the printer than the thing you're actually printing. And if the room is dark, the light is nowhere near strong enough. So if you want to check remotely, it's less smart printing monitoring and more haunted cupboard security footage. And then, of course, we have filament waste. And filament waste is always going to be filament waste. And I'm sort of grown tired of talking about the subject because we already know what the best solution is for that. But at the same time, if you're buying into this machine, you probably already know what to expect from the A-series style of multicolour printing. It works, it's convenient, but it does waste material. And that's just part of the trade-off. But here's the flip side. It's also very easy to sit here and be critical of this printer. The harder thing is to ignore the fact that it just works over and over and over again with little drama. And that's very much Bambu's biggest strength, because while some of the choices feel safe, some parts just feel familiar. The actual experience is incredibly smooth. And for a first-time user, that matters more than almost anything else. You can take it out of the box, follow the setup, load the filament, pick a model, press print, and most of the time, it does what it's supposed to do. And that's why, even though there are some things on this that I don't love, I can see exactly who this printer is aimed at. It's for someone that wants bigger prints, more colours, less messing around, a little bit more functionality, and a machine that feels approachable from day one. Not perfect, not revolutionary in all areas, but very, very easy to live with. So I think that pretty much sums up my review. I want to thank Bambu Lab for sending me this printer. Obviously, my sponsors, PCBWay. Thanks very much to STL Flicks. And of course, Polymaker Filament, where all the filament used in this video. All of this stuff, of course, could be found down in the description below. If you want to click a link, that's where you do it, down there. There's also a link for this printer if you decide to buy one. But I'm really curious, as all of these videos, when we do these reviews, what do you think about the products? What do you think about the printer? Do you think it's the one for you? Do you think it's a little bit lackluster? Could they have done something bigger, bolder, better? Should we have gone back in time 18 months and then had this printer out then? We were very much waiting for it. It kind of makes sense. You know, we've got the Mini, we've got the A1, then the A2, which is probably really an A1L, probably, maybe. I don't know if there's enough changes there for me to really think seriously about this being a second generation printer. So kind of that's where I'm at, but there you go. Hope you've enjoyed the video. Friends, we will see you next time. Bye for now.
You are watching a master at work.